I'm going to tell you that and I tell this story regularly because I just keep coming back to it. So I was actually in the job where you and I met. I was working for a large media company, national media company, in the faith-based sector. And I had been recruited to take a job at the agency that I then worked for at Marketing Support Network. And I told my boss, and to be fair, they had me on a trajectory. They had a path figured out for where they thought I was headed. And his boss, who was the regional vice president for this particular company, was the only female VP in any department across this organization, because that's where faith-based spaces live sometimes. But she came to town essentially to try and talk me out of. Right? And hey, we've invested in you. We would really like you to keep on this track that we have planned. And so I said, I'm committed. I'm doing this thing. And she said, well, if that's the case, then I'm going to give you one piece of advice as a leader. She said, I live in a lot of spaces where I am the only woman in the boardroom. And my reputation is that I am the ice queen. I am the least emotional one. I am never the one that's going to overstep, oversay, get emotional, show any sort of reaction ever. And that is my reputation, and it has served me well. And I left that meeting going, but that's not who I am. It's not who I am as a human.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that Kristen Bell clip where she's on Ellen talking about her sloth addiction? And she says, if I'm not between a 5 and a 7 on the emotional scale, I'm crying. And that is, I've never resonated with something stronger. But I'm crying if I'm too happy, too sad, too mad. And it's not necessarily, I don't see it as a weakness. I don't see it as a bad thing. But she put this frame in my head of if you're going to be a woman in these spaces, you better put that thing on.
Yeah.
And I knew in my soul, I was like, that is not me. It's not how I want to live. I don't care what my job is. I don't want to have to put on something that's not myself, that feels inauthentic in any space. And so I think, if anything, she was so adamant about it that advice has then ruled, the opposite of that advice has ruled the rest of my career, because I never wanted to turn into that.
As I knew would be true, every sentence, I'm I want to talk about that for 18 years.